Following the recent mission of a team from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, a staff concluding statement of the 2024 Articles 4 mission to St. Kitts and Nevis was issued with evaluations and projections of the Federation's economy and fiscal performance. According to the staff statement, the federal government ended fiscal year 2023 with a surplus as a result of, quote, fiscal prudence and the outperformance of the Citizenship by Investment program, end quote. The IMF document indicates that while the general outlook is positive for St. Kitts and Nevis, there are important risks ahead related to possible natural disasters, unfavorable external factors that could affect the Federation, as well as reduce revenue from the Citizenship by Investment program. The statement indicates that renewable energy projects could help drive growth in the medium term, with 2024 growth projection aimed at 4.7%. Tourism and the acceleration in housing and public infrastructure projects execution will be supportive of the expected growth, with the expectation that the country's GDP would return to pre-pandemic levels in 2024. The IMF staff statement called for increased transparency and accountability of the Citizenship by Investment program by publishing an annual financial report on the CBI unit's operations and key data on applications. The concluding statement also recommends tightened fiscal management, a balanced budget over the medium term, tax policy reform at multiple levels, the upgrading of infrastructure to boost natural disaster resilience, and improvements in debt and cash management. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline. Attracting new brand name hotels to Nevis would be substantially helpful in sustaining the operations of a redeveloped Vance Amory International Airport, according to Premier Mark Brantley at his press conference of 29 February 2024. Responding to an SK Newsline query on the need to drive additional air traffic into Nevis once the airport has been redeveloped to accommodate regional-sized jet aircraft, the Premier indicated that it was important to attract branded properties as part of the overall process to increase high-end tourism on Nevis.
We need, I believe, an additional one, maybe two, significant branded properties on this island. I think will help drive traffic. The Four Seasons is quite enamored with the idea of this expansion of the airport because from time to time they also have group travel, and those groups will charter. So if they have a group of 200, two charters out of Miami landing directly at Vance Amory International would suit them as well. So there is an opportunity, I think, for that group business, one, small groups that is, and two, having additional hotel stock, but as you say, boutique branded. That's Nevis's model. So we are also out there actively having those conversations about people coming in and doing developments here of that quality and that kind that we feel will fit within the model that is Nevis. We are optimistic that we'll get something done, but we are insistent when we have those conversations that it has to be something that is branded at a particular level. Four Seasons and above is what we are looking at for Nevis.
Meanwhile, the Nevis Island administration is hopeful that the redevelopment work on the Vance Amory International Airport would begin later in 2024. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
So the reason I love the cable, the prices are reasonable and affordable, and they give back so much to the community and the country.
It's the event of the year when Gospel Outreach Ministries present Jesus Party Sunset Cruise on Sunday, March 31st at 5 p.m. on the Prince Devontae J, featuring M1, Roots Gospel Band, and Tehila. Tickets $60. Call 663-1528 to purchase your tickets. It's the Jesus Party Sunset Cruise, March 31st on the Prince Devontae J, leaving the marina at 5 p.m. Don't you miss it.
Juice in the city. Juice in the city. Juice in the city. Juice in the city.
Efforts are focused on having water drilling company BEAD fulfill its obligations to Nevis after being paid to activate the program since 2017, according to Premier Mark Brantley. After a down payment to BEAD of $760,000 to drill 3 wells at an overall cost of $2 million, Premier Brantley said BEAD did not deliver and pursued legal action against BEAD.
We eventually went to court to try to recover. Not all, but some, because under the contract we were not able to recover all of the monies that we had paid them. And BEAD did not respond. We in fact had a default judgment against BEAD for that amount. I will say publicly that since all that, BEAD re-entered the Federation and it has done successful drilling in Keon, in St. Kitts. And BEAD has indicated an interest in coming back to Nevis to complete the drilling that they should have done in 2017 in Nevis. And we have as a cabinet taken the decision that we will at least give them an opportunity to advise us whether they're in a position to now complete that contract. That is separate and apart to the bidding process that is complete, because we have evaluated those bids and we have looked at them with a view to determining what might offer the best value for money. But even as we were doing that, BEAD approached and said, hey, we know we've had these problems, but we're now finished with what we're doing on St. Kitts, and we are minded to come back to Nevis to finish what we ought to have done 7 years ago. And so we are having that conversation with them. Bearing in mind, as I say, that they're already holding a significant sum of money from the NIA. We have a default judgment, but that default judgment has not been satisfied. And so we are saying, can we do a reset and engage with them? But we are now waiting on them to advise us as to what they can do and what they propose they can deliver for the people of Nevis.
Over the last 10 years, the NIA invested over 40 million EC dollars in upgrading water storage and distribution infrastructure and is now focusing on improving the availability of water by drilling new wells, the Premier indicated. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline. When outgoing chairman of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, addressed delegates to the 2024 summit held in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves made note of the threats of the illegal trade in firearms, as well as the need to maintain the Western Hemisphere as a zone of peace.
The peace and security of our region is unquestionably undermined by the easy facilitation of the exports of guns and bullets, which find their way into the hands of assorted criminals who kill, rob, and terrorize innocent law-abiding persons. And the guns and the bullets come overwhelmingly from the United States of America. They have a Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and they have their own set of values, but they want those values to be made manifest in our region without our own permission. And that is why I'm so happy that the government of Mexico has taken the initiative to bring appropriate legal action against the manufacturers of guns in the United States of America, to bring them to book. And I'm pleased to see that the relevant courts in the United States, they have accepted the complaint by the government of Mexico, and we are moving forward with that particular action. This is a very good initiative. in order to help us with our peace and security in the region. Having said all of that, I think it ought to be clear to every wise and mature person that imperialism and hegemony are the natural enemies of peace. Peace is thus an enduring anti-imperialist and anti-hegemonic path. Anybody who, in our region, who wants to embrace war, objectively speaking, is supporting imperialism and hegemony.
In 2023, CELAC leaders agreed that the hemisphere must remain a zone of peace and disagreements and conflicts must be resolved through dialogue, negotiations, and the rule of international law. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
We begin this evening with the latest out of neighboring Haiti, where a state of emergency remains in effect.
Armed gangs stormed 2 prisons on Sunday, which resulted in thousands of prisoners escaping.
There is now greater worry throughout the region, with concerns surrounding how CARICOM may get involved.
Shamela Pullen has the details.
Port-au-Prince, Haiti was the scene of chaos on the weekend. Tires burning in the streets of the capital, but no firefighters or police in sight to bring calm. Some residents tell the CNN they have not eaten for days.
No, there's a thing. My country is broken right now.
While it's felt this episode of violence is the worst yet.
This 14-year-old says he was recruited by a gang at 11. Tells me he's often forced to burn the bodies of those killed by other gang members. I want to change my way of life, he says, with a heavy look of shame. He flexes BSAP's strength in numbers and its potential to help bring stability. But when it comes to his own family... You mentioned you have 4 kids. What do you think their future is in this country? He fears their future is best served leaving Haiti.
This fresh round of unrest stems from 2 prison breaks over the weekend. More than 4,000 prisoners are now on the run, while gangsters continue to wreak havoc in the country.
The gangs had announced that they were going to the jail. They had said that. So why was not a state of emergency declared then before that? The same thing. We have been having this problem in 2021. Why was not a state of emergency declared then? So it really is too little too late. Policemen were calling for help, and the police hierarchy did not send the help.
It is for this reason that founder of Human Imaginaries, Melania Lane, has been working to keep 37 refugees whose asylum application had been rejected in Jamaica.
This situation cannot be resolved by any one country alone. It requires a unified, coordinated approach. And so I urge the government, I urge CARICOM leaders and United Nations and international community to work together in solidarity, to stand with Haitian refugees and to put in place a mechanism for protection, because this is what has been done for other migrant groups, and so I cannot understand why, when it comes to Haitians in every corner of the world, they are always disregarded, treated as disposable, excluded, and treated as less than human.
Last year, Kenya committed to sending police military support to Haiti. Some CARICOM countries also pledged to help, but that plan was placed on hold after a court ruled that it was unconstitutional.
CARICOM right now is trying to kind of save itself in a way by inviting us. They were inviting us to Jamaica for, yes, tomorrow and the day after. But practically everybody said no. What is CARICOM going to do? Because we have said that our Yellow must go. The population massively throughout various cities in Haiti have said that our Yellow must go, but CARICOM is calling us to discuss with our Yellow.
There's been widespread unrest in Haiti since the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse in 2021. The deceased president's wife is among those indicted for the killing. Shamela Pullen, TVJ News.
Minister of Barbados.
The elephant in the room at the annual Summit of Leaders of Caribbean Nations, or CARICOM, was the increasingly tense territorial dispute between host country Guyana and its South American neighbor Venezuela. The two countries have been in a border dispute since the 1800s, with Venezuela claiming the land west of the Essequibo River, equivalent to 2/3 of what Guyana considers its territory. While not a member of CARICOM, the president of Brazil, Lula da Silva, weighed in on the way to St. Vincent.
The issue can't be ignored because it's almost centuries old. We've been dealing with it for years, through the courts and the UN, and this will continue. What we're going to do is work to ensure that it continues to be discussed and debated, and that we can find a solution as friendly as possible.
Brazil is one of the mediators in current negotiations between the disputing countries. Venezuela does not recognize the International Court of Justice's jurisdiction and is building up military forces along the border with Guyana.
No se metan con Venezuela.
President Nicolás Maduro accuses Guyana of carrying out a, quote, brutal dispossession of Venezuela's sovereign territory. But the principal reason for the renewed push to take over the Essequibo region is the discovery of large oil deposits there.
The Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
Guyana is also appealing for Washington's support.
We need to advance this conversation, how we mobilize investment in security in this region to ensure that you are also secure. Our United States friends and cabinet members are here. I think this requires serious and immediate attention.
President Lula is betting on current negotiations.
Brazil's strategy is to work not only for development, but to work intensively to keep South America as a zone of peace on earth.
It may not be easy. At stake, among other things, is the ownership of an estimated 11 billion barrels of oil and natural gas. Lula is expected to meet with Venezuela's President Maduro on Friday. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera.
I love the cable because they really look out for different groups of people. I'm on the creative pack, and they provide services tailored and dedicated to people just like me.
Introducing St. Kitts and Nevis's newest TV channel, Television Caribbean, TVC Channel 40, on the cable's Ultra TV. TVC promises to deliver the finest in television broadcasting in St. Kitts and Nevis and the Caribbean, with some of the best local programs in news, sports, and entertainment. Join us for Insights, where we delve into the lives of our guests.
Let me see what happens if I put this big explosion. Like, okay, note to self, don't do that again.
Or get in-depth analysis on Newsline 360. We have sports, entertainment, and inspiration. It's all here on TVC Channel 40 on the cable's Ultra TV, on TelTV cable network in St. Martin, and on our website www.tvcplus.live. TVC Channel 40. See the difference.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
I love the cable because they're real. What you see is what you get. No hidden agenda, no tricks, just real, honest communication.
For the first time since last August, Yahya Al-Sadiq is returning to his home district of Wad Nubawi in Durman. He's come to visit the grave of his friend and neighbor Muawiyah, who is buried in the street in front of his home. He died when he couldn't find medication for his illness during fighting between the paramilitary rapid support forces and the Sudanese army.
There was no way to reach the cemetery. The places were all fighting areas and dangerous and under the control of the rapid support forces. Movement was difficult, so Muawiyah stayed in the house for 5 days before someone smelt the decomposing body and brought 2 people with him to dig a grave and bury him here.
Bullet holes on buildings in Wad Nubawi show signs of fighting, with the marks of artillery shells that landed on them. Amidst the ruins, images of lives destroyed. The army and the RSF have been fighting since last April. The United Nations says at least 13,000 Sudanese have been killed. Local responders say the total is likely to be 3 times higher because many bodies have not been able to reach hospitals to be counted, and many others are yet to be buried.
My cousin who lived with us had diabetes and there was no way to take him to the hospital. The roads were closed and there was no access to the cemetery because of the battles. We found that 3 others have been buried on the street, so we buried him here too. And then another body was added a few days later to make this a makeshift cemetery.
Cemeteries where the dead are normally buried have not been spared the brutality of the conflict. This one is littered with unexploded artillery shells, and headstones show where others have exploded. While this part of Durman has been recaptured from the RSF by the army, the cemetery remains inaccessible to civilians. This isn't the only cemetery in the capital that has been destroyed by the conflict. It's left many families wondering about the bodies of their loved ones who they buried before the war. It also means as fighting continues, many of Sudan's dead won't get a proper final resting place. Yahya says he'll wait until the conflict is over to rebury Muawiyah in a cemetery rather than have his grave in the street. Many others are also waiting for the fighting to end to give their loved ones a proper burial. Hiba Morgan, Al Jazeera, Durman.
The justice is ruling that states cannot bar Donald Trump from running for another term, even though he is accused by some of insurrection. Colorado and several other states were seeking to disqualify Trump because of his actions surrounding the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Now, today's decision was unanimous. All 9 justices agreed that Trump cannot be barred from the ballot, in perhaps the most important ruling by the nation's highest court about a presidential election in more than 2 decades, since the decision of Bush versus Gore in 2000. This is the key paragraph of the ruling. States may disqualify persons holding or attempting to hold state office, but states have no power under the Constitution with respect to federal offices, especially the presidency. Now, the court's 3 liberal members say the court's majority went too far. Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson expressed frustration in a concurring opinion, saying the decision protects Donald Trump from, quote, future controversy. CBS's Robert Costa has the former president's reaction.
A crucial decision today with sweeping political consequences. The High Court ruling that former President Donald Trump cannot be removed from Colorado's ballot due to the state court's view that he stoked the January 6 insurrection.
You cannot take somebody out of a race. The voters can take the person out of the race very quickly, but a court shouldn't be doing that.
With this ruling, 2 other states also had their efforts to remove the former president stall. 3 justices, in a separate concurring opinion, said allowing the Colorado measure to go forward would, we agree, create a chaotic state-by-state patchwork. Amid a tense political landscape, Justice Amy Coney Barrett also urged Americans to see unity from the unanimous decision. Writing, in this circumstance, writings on the court should turn the national temperature down, not up. Colorado's Democratic Secretary of State offered sharp criticism of the decision.
I do believe that states should be able, under our Constitution, to bar oath-breaking insurrectionists.
The ruling comes a day before Super Tuesday, the biggest primary election day of the season, when voters in 15 states, including Colorado, head to the polls. And Trump's legal hurdles continue to pile up as the Supreme Court weighs another decision next month.
I hope that the justices, because they'll be working on some other cases, but one in particular, presidents have to be given total immunity. They have to be allowed to do their job.
Later this month, Trump will also spend 6 weeks in court, where he is charged with falsifying business records related to hush money payments to a porn star. Today, Trump's former CFO, Alan Weisselberg, pled guilty to 2 counts of perjury in the New York civil fraud case, but he will not testify against his former boss.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, top Republicans tell me they expect Trump to have a strong showing on Super Tuesday, accumulating a bushel of delegates as he marches closer to the nomination. Meanwhile, allies of former Ambassador Nikki Haley tell me she'll likely soon be at a crossroads about whether she's going to stay in the race. Nora.
Robert Costa, thank you very much.